All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're breaking down a pretty specific blueprint. It's a strategic plan that's all about going from, well, zero to some serious wealth, not over a decade, but in just 18 months.
I mean, that's a powerful question, right? It almost sounds too good to be true. The idea of changing your life that fast, it definitely gets your attention. But the real magic here isn't just the speed, it's the strategy behind it all.
And let's get one thing straight right off the bat. This is not about some crypto moonshot or winning the lottery. We're talking about a system, a process, and yeah, a whole lot of focused hard work.
You know, the timeline itself is really intentional. Why 18 months? Why not the get rich in a year fantasy we hear about all the time? Because building something that actually lasts takes time. This gives you room to really master a skill, to handle setbacks, and to build a system that grows on itself, through compounding effort, not just burning yourself out.
Okay, so this brings us to what is, without a doubt, the most critical part of the whole journey. Seriously, everything that comes after this is built on what you do in these first 3 months. The foundation is all about 3 things. First, you've got to give yourself some financial breathing room, and that means slashing your costs. Second, you have to create a super disciplined schedule so you have the time for deep, focused work. And third, you pour all that time and energy into mastering one single, highly valuable skill. And when we say radically reduce, this is the kind of number we're talking about. Getting your total monthly expenses down to between $800 and $1,200. Look, this is not just about saving a few dollars. It's a huge psychological shift. It creates the mental space and the financial runway you need to go all in on building, instead of just trying to survive. Now, the key word here is sustainable. So many people fall into this trap of trying to work these chaotic 100-hour weeks, and you know what that leads to? Burnout. Total burnout. This plan is all about a highly focused, super structured 60-hour week. It's way more productive, and you can actually keep it up for the long haul. So what kind of skill are we talking about here? The definition is actually very, very specific. It's got to be something you can learn and get good at within 90 days. And it has to have a clear path to making you over 10 grand a month. This isn't about picking up a new hobby. It's about choosing a vehicle for serious income. And here are the top 5 options that fit that bill. Now listen, the goal is not to learn all of them. No way. It's to pick the one that really fits you. Are you a natural with words, a great communicator? Do you love numbers and data? Do you like to build things? Or are you a visual storyteller? Your whole journey starts with making this one choice. Okay, so once you've laid that solid foundation, the next year, months 4 through 15, is all about one thing: scaling. This is where you go from just having a skill to building a real business around it. And scaling is really driven by these 3 big ideas. First, you've got to stop doing everything from scratch and start creating systems, templates, workflows, the whole deal. Second, you have to stop being the only person doing the work. You need leverage, which means hiring help to multiply what you can do. And third, you start to break free from trading your hours for dollars by adding new ways to make money. This timeline kind of shows you how it all unfolds. See, it's a step-by-step progression. You don't just hire someone on day 1. First, you systematize how you get clients. Then you bring in help. Then you build out your internal processes. And only after all that do you really start to raise your prices. Every step builds on the one before it. And here is the beautiful result of all that strategic scaling. The growth isn't just a straight line, it's exponential. I mean, look at that. The jump from month 3 to month 9 is massive, but then the jump from month 9 to 15 is where things get really crazy. That's the power of systems and leverage working for you. And that brings us to the final phase, the home stretch. This is where your focus shifts from just making a high income to actually turning that income into real, long-lasting wealth. And this is the top of the mountain for the 18-month plan, hitting a monthly revenue of $100,000. I know, it sounds absolutely wild, but it's the logical next step after all the scaling principles we just talked about. Earning the money is really only half the battle. Keeping it, and more importantly, growing it, that's the whole ballgame. And this allocation rule is the secret sauce. A full 50% goes right back into the business to fuel more growth. Then another 25% gets put to work immediately in long-term investments. That's how you build the wealth machine. It's also super important to understand what millionaire status really means in this context. It's not just about having $1 million cash in the bank.
It's a combination of things: the actual value of your business, your liquid investments like index funds, and hard assets like real estate. It's about building a diversified and really solid net worth.
So after laying out this entire blueprint, from day one all the way to the final goal, it really all comes down to this. It comes down to a choice.
And that choice requires a huge mindset shift. It's so easy to look at the 60-hour weeks and the tight budgets and see it as a prison. But the real insight here is that this intense, short-term discipline, that's the price of admission for a lifetime of freedom.
You know, this might be the most important thing to remember because it explains why so many people quit. For months, it's just going to feel like a grind. The results will feel slow, almost invisible. That's you building the root system. But all that work underground is what makes the explosive, visible growth possible later on. The real challenge is just trusting the process, especially when you can't see the progress yet.
And ultimately, that's what this is all about. It's not just about what's in your bank account, it's about a total transformation. The blueprint is here. The path is laid out. The only thing left to figure out is the choice you're going to make today.